Sun's just gone behind a cloud. But if you've got the sound on, you might hear the tui that's singing in the tree behind me. He's stopped now. I was just thinking this morning as I was walking down through one of my usual paths on the farm about spring growth and regrowth and the things that actually enable us to be able to grow and evolve as people. And the trees at the moment are such a good analogy for that, because there's the totara trees, which are behind me here, and they're an evergreen, and unless you look really closely and know what you're looking at, you really miss their spring growth. It's a soft, furry, sort of almost bluish tinge to it, and it's really pretty, and yet it's quite subtle. And then there's the ones like growing in my garden that are deciduous trees, and they've got this amazing flush of fresh green shoots and absolutely amazing looking new leaves, and they're just so bold and obvious, and and then I look at just the similarities there are with us as people, and let's face it, there's always connections between us humans and nature. We are part of nature, and provided the roots and our foundations are there, then there's room for growth, whether that's the subtle and small growth that others don't really see, and it's about ourselves. And then there's the things that are the big changes, where we decide to really step outside of what has been going on and what's been in our past and move forward in a different direction. And there are all different layers of that. What it takes, though, is the foundation, this really the good roots to be able to do it. I'll post in my Substack newsletter this week about this a bit more, but it's really looking at some of those foundational things that are really easy to do throughout the course of the week, that can just start setting up habits that allow for that growth. And for me, one of those was getting back to hiking, getting back to being in nature. And speaking of, I'm going to start walking again before my dog disappears off into the trees. Gizmo, come on, mate. And it's one of those things where there can be days that I just don't want to do it, and I just don't feel like it. And so now I've got to the point where I do it. It's not a think about it thing. Picking up my walking poles, it's just get out there and just do it. And once I'm out here, everything always shifts. So it's the foundation of my day, and it's one of what I would consider to be my grounded roots. It enables me to reconnect with nature. I always take time to be able to listen and smell and see, all the little details and the things that are around me while I'm out there. There are days where I feel like jogging and trail running through the trees, but most of the time it's just a chance to be out and reconnect with nature and reconnect with myself, with my body. And that's one of my real foundational practices during the week. One of the others is avoiding slipping into the old multitasking habit. So I was an absolute multitasker, very proud of the fact that I could be doing however many things at once. I'm just walking down quite a steep, slippery piece of ground. Hang on, I'll show you. Hopefully you didn't get dizzy looking at that. And it actually was absolutely no good for me, because it meant that my nervous system got more and more wound up, because I was always pinging from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, and trying to juggle 15 things at once. And I was exceptionally good at it. However, it's not good for me. And from a productivity point of view, yes, I could churn out a whole lot of stuff all at once, but I wasn't actually giving any one thing my undivided attention, which meant that it could probably have been a hang of a lot better than what it actually was. You'd have to ask my co-workers about that, but at the end of the day, that whole multitasking thing and having 1,000,001 things on your list to do really isn't actually helpful. It doesn't mean that you get more things done. So one of my foundational practices is to actually look at my to-do list for a week and cull it back so that I've only got 2 main things on any particular day. So that's on top of my regular foundational practices, which are my hiking, yoga practice, prepping really good nutritious food, and I've slid out of the habit of that lately, so I'm really nailing down into that one this week. That's my 3 kind of key things. I get them done first thing in the morning, which means that I'm set up for the rest of the day. I don't have to make any more decisions around food and what I'm feeding myself. I know what I'm having for breakfast, lunch and dinner, and I've got it largely prepped. So I'll be going back after this hike, practicing yoga for half an hour, and then organising my breakfast, sorting out what I'm doing for lunch and dinner at the same time. That way everything's there, it's all ready to go. I'm avoiding decision fatigue. I've set up myself for the day. That is one of my key foundational practices. And I've got out of the habit of it lately. It's a habit. So we all just kind of have to do that reminder every now and then. Figure out the things over the course of a week that are your foundations, the things that set you up to feel your best and to achieve what absolutely has to be done, and anything else is a bonus. So for me this week, there's work on a balanced life, my Substack article, and the website I'm setting up. So that's my key focus. I've got some work that is being done around the property. I've got water blasting or pressure blasting, whatever we want to call it, of our courtyard, which is in a right royal mess after the winter. So if I get to that one, to finish that off, then bonus. I've got the biggest of our vegetable beds, actually I'm currently weeding, and it's a bit of a mammoth job. It's been lying fallow over the winter period, and unfortunately we have kikuyu grass and it takes over everything. So I'm in the process of trying to haul all that out. Again, that's a bonus one. If I get to that one, fab. If I don't, it'll wait till the weekend and I'll do it probably on Sunday. So it's a case of breaking it down and looking at the things that you absolutely have to get done, the things that are foundational, the things that you need to be able to feel your best and for your nervous system to feel safe. And then you look at the absolutely have to and what can drop off the list. What can be delegated, what can help in terms of bringing your nervous system down. Is that making sure you're getting enough water during the day? Grab a bottle of water, make sure you drink it first, in the morning, another one in the afternoon. You're hydrating yourself. Awesome, more energy. Are there other things that could help in terms of your nervous system? So I've been talking a little bit with some of the Substack community recently about a digital detox and what that looks like. And, it started off for me during COVID, where because of the job I was doing, I was receiving hundreds of updates from all sorts of authorities across the countryside, looking at, what was happening virtually blow by blow. And honestly, it just did my nervous system in something chronic. Got to the point where I was like, actually, this isn't helping me, and it's not actually going to help my community either. So I switched that off and had one source that I clocked into 3 times a day. And that was enough. It didn't need to be any more than that. So that actually was the start of the process. Through then moving into running our own business, I was having to do quite a lot of social media, marketing, etc. And got into the habit of being on social media a lot more, not just for the business, but it slid into doing so personally as well. Again, not great for my nervous system at all. And so I went through a period of completely detoxing from it. I stepped back from all social media entirely at the beginning of 2024, and there was very little of me on there. I've slowly integrated that back in again, and there are parameters around that. So I only look at it first thing in the morning to check whether or not there are any messages that I need to be looking at. So that's my Substack, Instagram and Facebook feeds, and that's basically it. And then I check it again later in the day, and that's it. So turning it off at night, not looking at it any other time, because there's nothing on there that actually feeds me at a nutritional level. It's not nourishing my nervous system in any way, shape or form. So that's another foundational one for me. And when I start sliding back into looking at rubbish too much on there, I just cut it off. So that's another one. The other thing that we do in terms of a digital detox, if you like, is not looking at phones when we are talking to one another. That's husband and I. Not having phones when we are eating. We largely put them aside, to be quite honest, and have them sitting wherever and check in however often. We're not attached to our phones at all. Our Wi-Fi gets turned off. It automatically goes into sleep mode at 10 o'clock at night, and it comes back on at 6 in the morning. That way it's off at night. So there's no temptations there, not that we actually look anyway. So that's just some of the little things that we do in terms of the digital detox part of the equation. And that digital side of things is very much foundational for me as well. Being highly sensitive, I find things like the electromagnetic fields, the energy that comes off, those sorts of things is really not great for me. And yes, there is some science out there around that. So I basically have to really monitor the amount of time that I spend in front of a computer, which is really difficult when you're trying to, set up a business online. But that's just part and parcel of trying to figure out what the balance is as far as that goes for me. So yeah, that's another foundational one in terms of my digital consumption, is just looking at how long I'm sitting in front of a computer. If you've got a job that requires that, literally setting a timer so that you can get up and go and move and get some fresh air and then come back. It is, it's fundamental, because staring at a screen all day is not good for us. It does nothing for our eyesight. It's really bad for our nervous systems. And yeah, if you're in a work environment that doesn't allow you to do that, then I'd start questioning that work environment, because they are not looking after their people if you're being forced to sit there in front of a computer screen for that many hours without taking breaks. So yeah, that's kind of one of my other foundational ones. So anyway, that all came from me looking at spring growth on the trees, and that connection between nature and having that foundation of the roots, the practices, the things that you can do to nourish yourself every single day, that then give you the ability to grow and change and address any of the old habits and behaviors that are not serving you anymore. And yeah, we all need to just check back in on a regular basis what those foundational practices are for us, and whether we let them slip. I've let some of mine slip recently. Happened after I was unwell for a couple of weeks, and I slid back into some bad habits, and they're not serving me. So I'm going right back to my roots, back to what grounds me, and working slowly but surely on each little habit to get myself back to how I feel my best, my most energetic self, and with my nervous system where I feel better. I'm in balance and not either manic or depressed, and that's what happens when my nervous system gets overloaded. So that's this week's Substack post. It's this week's chat. There's a few reminder and practices, so there'll be a link below to my post this week. And if you've got some foundational practices that really help you, that might help other people, then would be great to know what they are in the comments. So let me know, and have an awesome week.